as well as electric ones at this point. But today, what you're going to see are largely 250 and 300cc machines operating. These are two-stroke motors, as I said. They run a 6-speed gearbox. The first 4 gears are intended for operation within the section, so they're all very, very low gears. So you can actually start out in 4th gear with no problem at all. You can ride around here in 4th gear with no problem at all. 5th and 6th are generally for getting from point A to point B, so they're very, very tall gears to be able to drive from one section to the next. So, one of the most fundamental moves in trials is the wheel. Now, in trials, the wheelie is a little different than in other forms of motorsport and show. In trials, the wheelie is meant for a different purpose. A wheelie in trials is intended to place the front wheel very accurately in a specific spot so that you can get over an obstacle. It's not necessarily meant for show. It's actually used very much as a technique. And you will see the guys lifting the front wheel over top of obstacles as we go here. So, the second one would be what we refer to as a stopping. So that would be braking, lifting the rear wheel. See how Scotty lifted the rear wheel up on top there? There's various purposes for that. A, one for show, but B, you can use it to pivot the bike and turn in a very, very short distance amount of space by pivoting on the front wheel. Or placing the rear wheel up on top of an obstacle that you need to get over the way Scott did there. When making turns on trials bike, this is where the no seat thing, you really start to notice why we have no seats on these bikes. When making turns, the idea is to lean the motorcycle. You're not so much turning the handlebars, it's about leaning the motorcycle to make it change direction. The tighter you lean it, the tighter it will turn, as Ian was just showing you there. And you can see where a seat would just get in your way at this point, because he's trying to weight that outside peg and lean the bike over a great deal in order to make these extremely sharp turns. There are a variety of other maneuvers for making turns that are used in trials. There's what's known as a floater turn, which is basically a wheelie that pivots. You pivot the bike during the wheelie around in a number of degrees you need to turn. The other one is a pivot turn, as Mike is exhibiting here. It's tapping the front wheel off of an obstacle, a tree, a rock, whatever, in order to change direction very rapidly with a bounce of the front wheel. They're extremely difficult. These are very advanced maneuvers. So, the other one we will use. All these bikes have a pretty aggressive skid plate on the bottom. The skid plate on a trials bike is not just meant to protect the motor. It's actually a tool to get over obstacles. As you will see Ian hang up the skid plate on an obstacle and then rock it off of the obstacle. See how he's rocked it off the obstacle? So you use the skid plates quite often as actually a platform to drag the bike up over things. And you will see some of the pros will actually have textured skid plates with little grippers on the bottom to actually provide grip so they don't slide backwards off of an obstacle when they hang up on it.
What was that?
Other basic techniques for getting over larger obstacles, such as this car, is known as a double blip. So a double blip is basically similar to what it sounds like. So you will give one blip of throttle to lift the front wheel up onto the obstacle, a second blip of throttle to drive the rear wheel into it and create